Let's begin with a feeling that is rarely spoken about, but deeply felt. You are in the moment. The lights are low, the energy is high, and your partner is pulling you close. It is supposed to be the most natural thing in the world, two bodies coming together in perfect rhythm. But for you, there is a tiny silent thought in the back of your mind. A thought that whispers, why does this feel like hard work? If you are a smaller woman, whether you are petite in height, slender in frame, or simply partnered with a man who is significantly larger, you know exactly what I am describing. It is the sensation of being physically overwhelmed. It is not just about his strength or his presence, it is the geometry of it all. You might find yourself constantly adjusting, shifting your hips, or straining your legs just to find a point of connection that doesn't feel like you are being engulfed. There is a unique kind of exhaustion that comes from this. It's the fatigue of trying to bridge a physical gap that nature created. Maybe you have found that when you try the standard advice, the positions you see in movies or read about in magazines, just don't fit. His hips don't line up with yours, his stride is too long for your rhythm, or perhaps in certain moments the depth becomes too much, turning what should be pleasure into a sudden spike of discomfort that makes you tense up. I want you to take a deep breath right now and let that tension go. Because here is the first truth you need to hear: you are not doing it wrong. Your body is not broken and you are not bad at intimacy. The struggle you feel is not a lack of passion. It is simply a matter of physics. Most relationship advice assumes that bodies are roughly the same size, like puzzle pieces cut from the same cloth. But when there is a size disparity, the puzzle pieces are different. And when you try to force them together without understanding the unique geometry of your body, you end up sacrificing your pleasure just to make it work for him. But today that ends. We are going to stop forcing. We are going to stop straining. Instead, we are going to look at this struggle and uncover the hidden opportunities within it. Because the truth is, your size is not a limitation. It is a specific frequency of intimacy that, once tuned, can be more powerful than anything else. The Goldilocks dilemma. To understand how to fix this, we first have to understand the Goldilocks dilemma. In the story, she was looking for something that was just right in intimacy. Just right isn't about emotion, it is about alignment. And for the petite woman, alignment is usually the first thing to go missing. Think about the standard face. To face connection, it relies on the pelvic bones meeting in a way that creates friction and pressure. But when he is significantly taller or broader, his center of gravity is higher than yours. Instead of meeting you, he often hovers over you. You might find that your legs, when wrapped around him, don't quite have the leverage to pull him in. You end up hanging on rather than grounding yourself. This lack of leverage means you lose the ability to control the rhythm. You become a passenger in the experience rather than a co-pilot. Then there is the issue of depth. This is the double-edged sword of the petite frame. On one hand, you feel everything intensely. On the other hand, there is a physical limit. When the alignment is off, he can inadvertently bypass the pleasurable zones and hit areas that cause a deep cramping ache. This triggers a protective reflex in your body. Your muscles tighten, your breath becomes shallow, and your mind disconnects because it is bracing for impact rather than opening to pleasure. This creates a cycle of frustration. You want to be close to him, you crave that skin-to-skin intimacy, but the mechanics keep getting in the way. You might try to arch your back harder or twist your body in unnatural ways to accommodate him. But this trying harder approach only leads to physical fatigue. By the end of it, you aren't basking in the afterglow. You are nursing a sore lower back or tired hips. The mistake most women make here is thinking that they need to endure this discomfort to be a good partner. They think that if they just relax enough, the geometry will fix itself. But geometry doesn't respond to wishful thinking, it responds to adjustment. The problem isn't that you are too small. The problem is that you are playing by the rules of a game designed for a different body type. We need to rewrite those rules. We need to stop trying to stretch you to fit him and start bringing the experience down to your level where you have the advantage, the secret advantage of being smaller. No, let's pivot. Let's change the lens through which you view your body. Up until now, we have talked about the challenges, but what if I told you that being the smaller partner is actually a massive secret advantage? Think of it this way: energy, when compressed, becomes more powerful. A large room takes a long time to heat up, but a small sanctuary becomes warm and glowing almost instantly. Your body is that sanctuary. Because you are smaller, you are more aerodynamic, you are capable of angles and movements that a taller woman simply cannot achieve. Being petite means you are easily maneuverable. You can be scooped up, turned, and adjusted without breaking the flow of the moment. This allows for a level of dynamic intimacy that is rare. You can fit into the spaces of his body, the crook of his arm, the curve of his chest in a way that makes him feel like he is surrounding you completely. For a man, this triggers a deep, biological protective instinct. It makes him feel powerful, not in a dominating way, but in a way that makes him want to shelter and worship you. This is a psychological aphrodisiac that you have natural access to. Furthermore, your size allows for a density of sensation. Because the distance between your nerve endings and your core is shorter, the waves of pleasure can travel faster and hit harder. You are built for intensity. Very thing that makes depth a challenge also makes connection incredibly potent when the angle is right. You don't need a lot of movement to feel a lot of sensation. 1 inch shift for you feels like a mile. This means you can achieve heights of pleasure with subtle, microscopic movements that remain a secret between your body and his. So, for the rest of this video, I want you to drop the insecurity. I want you to stop wishing you were taller, broader, or different. You are a concentrated vessel of feminine energy. You are a gem that fits perfectly in the palm of the experience. We are going to unlock the positions that leverage this. We are going to turn your smallness into your superpower. You are about to discover that the best things really do come in small packages, and by the end of this guide, you will know exactly how to use yours. The geometry of desire, understanding your body. The alignment myth. Before we can fix the physical connection, we have to dismantle a myth that has been sold to us for decades. I call it the movie lie. You know, the scene the couple falls onto the bed, everything lines up perfectly, their faces are level, their bodies melt together, and it looks effortless. But here is the reality for the petite woman. When there is a significant height or size difference, effortless alignment is a biological impossibility in standard positions. We are taught to believe that the missionary position is the universal standard, the vanilla baseline that works for everyone. But geometrically speaking, for a smaller woman paired with a larger man, it is often the least compatible angle. Let's look at the mechanics. When a tall man is on top of a smaller woman, his hips are naturally positioned higher than yours. Instead of your pelvic bones meeting in a way that creates pleasurable pressure and external stimulation, his weight often lands on your stomach or the top of your hip bones. The gears are not meshing, they are grinding against each other. Because his legs are longer, his knees land further down the bed than yours. This forces you to open your legs wider than is comfortable just to accommodate his frame, which creates tension in your inner thighs. And when there is tension in the thighs, the pelvic floor muscles automatically tighten. This is a subconscious defense mechanism. You cannot fully relax into pleasure if your body is structurally bracing itself. Furthermore, this misalignment changes the angle of entry. Instead of a smooth gliding sensation, the angle becomes steep and downward. This is often why you might feel that sharp knocking sensation we discussed earlier. It is not because he is too big necessarily. It is because the angle of approach is bypassing the sensitive, pleasurable zones and hitting the sensitive, painful zones. So if you have ever laid there wondering why you aren't feeling that melting sensation, stop blaming yourself. You are trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. The geometry is off. But the beautiful thing about geometry is that it can be changed. You don't need to grow 3 inches taller to fix this. You just need to understand that flat on your back is not neutral. It is your disadvantage. To find your pleasure, we have to stop trying to align flat surfaces and start thinking in curves and angles. The fulcrum point. Know that we know why the standard alignment fails. Let me introduce you to the scientific secret that changes everything. It is a concept I call the fulcrum point. Your pelvis is not a static bone, it is a bowl, and depending on how you tip that bowl, you can completely change your internal landscape. Most women, when they lie down, have a natural curve in their lower spine. This creates a posterior tilt. Imagine the bowl spilling water toward your feet. In this position, the internal canal is angled downward. For a petite woman with a larger partner, this downward angle is the enemy. It meets his incoming energy head on, creating friction and blocking depth. To unlock your pleasure, we need to find the fulcrum point where the angle shifts. We need to create an anterior tilt, tipping the bowl so the water would spill toward your belly button. This is often achieved by flattening the lower back against the bed or raising the hips slightly. Why does this matter? because a 10-degree shift in your pelvic tilt can change a sensation from pain to paradise. When you raise your hips or tilt your pelvis upward, you align your internal path with his. Instead of him hitting a wall, he glides along the path. This also brings your most sensitive external areas, the clitoral network, up to meet him. Remember, his pubic bone is higher up because of his height. By tilting your pelvis up, you are meeting him halfway. You are creating a bridge. This is the secret that most sex tips miss. Tell you to move your legs or wrap your arms, but the real magic happens in the subtle, invisible tilt of the hips. It is a micro movement with a macro impact. Now, I will show you exactly how to use a simple prop to lock this fulcrum point in place so you don't have to use your muscles to hold it. But for now, understand this: your power is in the tilt. You are not passive, you are adjusting the sails to catch the wind. The hidden distance. We have talked about the physical bones and angles, but there is another gap we need to address. It is the emotional gap. I call this the hidden distance. Intimacy is not just about friction, it is about connection. It is about the breath on your neck, the gaze into your eyes, the ability to kiss him deeply while you are joined together. But for the petite woman, this emotional connection is often severed by the height difference. Think about it. If he is 6 feet tall and holds himself up on his arms, his face is naturally far away from yours. To kiss you, he has to hunch down, craning his neck, which is physically tiring for him. To kiss him, you have to strain your neck upward. This physical discomfort often leads to a break in contact. He stops kissing you, not because he doesn't want to, but because his back hurts. You stop looking at him because he feels like a distant giant hovering above you. This creates a subtle psychological isolation. You are together, but you are also far apart. You might feel covered by him, but not with him. This lack of face-to-face intimacy can make the act feel mechanical. You lose the feedback loop of seeing his pleasure and him seeing yours. And for women, that feedback loop is critical for arousal. We need to feel seen to feel safe. The positions we are about to discuss are not just designed to make the physical sensation better, they are designed to collapse this hidden distance. We want to bring his face back to yours. We want to align your hearts, not just your hips. When we solve the geometry problem, we also solve the loneliness problem. We create a structure where he can rest his weight without crushing you, bringing his lips back to your ear, his eyes back to your soul. Because the best intimacy happens when there is no gap, physical or emotional, between you. So as we move into the specific techniques, I want you to keep this goal in mind. We are not just looking for a better orgasm. We are looking for the feeling of being completely wrapped up in him, where the size difference doesn't separate you. It envelopes you. You are about to learn how to close the gap for good. The ultimate position revealed, the modified alignment. We have arrived at the moment you have been waiting for. You understand the problem, the height difference, the mismatch of hips, the hidden distance. Now, let's talk about the solution. Many people claim there is one perfect position for everyone. A lie, but there is a perfect alignment technique for the petite woman. It is not an acrobatic feat. It doesn't require flexibility. It is a subtle, invisible shift that transforms the standard missionary position from a clumsy struggle into a euphoric connection. We call this the modified alignment, or in technical circles, the coital alignment technique, but adapted specifically for your size. Here is the scenario: you on your back, he is on top. Usually this is where the disconnect happens. He is moving in a piston-like motion in and out. For a smaller woman, this friction is often irritating because the angle is too steep. It feels like he is sliding past your pleasure centers rather than engaging with them. The modified alignment changes the goal. We are going to stop the in and out. We are going to replace it with up and forward. Here is how you do it. Instead of him bracing himself on his hands or elbows, he needs to shift his body weight forward, higher up your body. Because he is taller, his chest should be aligned with your face, or even slightly above it. He needs to slide his body upward until the base of his pelvis is resting directly on top of yours. This is critical. You want his pubic bone to be grinding against yours. For a petite woman, this contact is usually lost because he is hovering. But when he slides up, his weight presses down on the exact spot that triggers external pleasure. Now, the movement changes. Instead of thrusting, you enter a rhythm of grinding. It is a subtle rocking motion, like a boat on gentle waves. You move your hips in coordination with his. When he moves up, you move up. When he moves down, you move down. You are maintaining constant pressure. For the smaller woman, this is revolutionary. Why? Because it stabilizes the depth. You are no longer worried about him going too deep or hitting a painful spot, because the grinding motion keeps the connection shallow but incredibly intense. The pressure is constant, not intermittent. This position solves the geometry puzzle. It turns the height difference into a sliding scale. By having him move higher up your body, you are effectively shortening the distance between your pleasure center. You are creating a sealed circuit of sensation. It requires patience. It is a slow burn, not a race. But once you find that rhythm, that synchronized slide, you will realize that you don't need deep penetration to feel full. You just need deep alignment. The pillow prop secret. I know what you might be thinking. That alignment sounds great, but it sounds exhausting. Do I have to hold my hips up the whole time? This is where the secret weapon comes in. If there is one tool that every petite woman should have in her bedroom sanctuary, it is the prop. Now, I am not talking about a complicated wedge or a piece of medical equipment. I am talking about a simple, firm pillow, but the magic isn't in the pillow itself. It is in exactly where you place it. Most women make the mistake of placing the pillow under their lower back. This creates a beautiful arch, yes, but for a smaller woman, it actually tilts the pelvis the wrong way for alignment. It opens you up too much to that steep downward angle we are trying to avoid. The secret is to place the pillow lower, directly under your sacrum, the flat bone at the base of your spine, right at the top of your glutes. When you elevate your pelvis by just 3 or 4 inches, you change the entire landscape of your body. Think of it as leveling the playing field, because he is taller. His point of origin is high. By raising your hips on a pillow, you are bringing your center of gravity up to meet his. This does 3 incredible things for you. First, it creates the anterior tilt effortlessly. You don't have to use your core muscles to hold the angle. You can completely relax. You can surrender your weight into the bed, knowing the pillow is doing the work for you. Second, it changes the angle of entry from downward to straight on. This practically eliminates the risk of painful depth. It forces the connection to stimulate the front wall of your internal space, the area richest in nerve endings, rather than hitting the back wall, which causes cramping. Third, and perhaps most importantly for your confidence, it gives you leverage. When your hips are elevated, your legs have more freedom to move. You are no longer pinned flat against the mattress. You are on a pedestal. This subtle lift allows you to rock, to grind, and to move with him rather than just taking the movement from him. It seems like such a small thing, a pillow. But physically, it closes the gap that nature created. It makes you taller where it counts. It allows his weight to rest on your pelvic bone rather than crushing your stomach. It is the bridge between his size and yours. If you try one thing from this video tonight, let it be this: lift yourself up and feel how the world shifts. The leg wrap technique. We have aligned your hips. We have elevated your pelvis. Now, what do we do with your legs? For a petite woman, legs can be a source of frustration. If he is broad-shouldered or thick-thighed, you might feel like your legs are just dangling. You try to wrap them around him, but maybe your ankles don't quite lock, or your muscles get tired from squeezing. When your legs are disconnected, you feel unstable. You feel like you are sliding away. We need to secure you. We need to lock you in. This brings us to the leg wrap technique. In the standard position, your legs usually rest on the bed, but to maximize the advantage of being small, you need to use your legs as anchors. If you are flexible and the height difference allows it, wrap your legs high around his waist, or even hooking your ankles over his lower back. This is known as the Vienna oyster in some texts, but we can simply call it the lock. When you wrap him this tightly, 2 things happen. 1, you pull him in deeper, eliminating that hidden distance we talked about. And 2, you limit his range of motion. Limit his motion. Yes, by wrapping your legs, you prevent him from pulling all the way back. You keep him close. You force the movement to become smaller, tighter, and more focused on friction rather than speed. You are essentially putting a governor on the engine, ensuring it stays at the pace you enjoy. But what if he is too broad, or your legs are too short to wrap comfortably around his waist? This is common. In this case, do not strain. Instead, use the thigh trap. Bring your legs together and wrap them around one of his thighs. Or place your feet flat on the bed and squeeze your knees against his hips. This clamping motion creates a sensation of tightness that men find incredibly stimulating. It makes him feel your presence. By actively using your legs, whether wrapping high or clamping low, you are participating in the physics of the movement. You are no longer just lying there. You are holding him. You are steering him. This also provides a sense of emotional security. When you are wrapped around him, you feel contained. You feel safe. The vastness of the bed disappears, and it becomes just the two of you locked in a closed circle of energy. You are using your smaller limbs to create a tighter embrace. You are turning your size into a vice grip of intimacy that he will never want to escape. Beyond missionary variations for depth control, that Lotus face to face, we have mastered the art of lying down. Now, I want to invite you to sit up. For many petite women, lying on your back can sometimes feel passive. Gravity is working against you, pinning you down. And while the modified alignment we just discussed is powerful, there are moments when you crave something more equal. You want to look him in the eye without straining. You want to wrap your arms around his neck and feel his heartbeat against your chest. This brings us to the most emotionally connected position in existence, the Lotus. This is a sitting straddle position. He sits either on the edge of the bed or with his back supported against a headboard, and you sit in his lap facing him. Now, why is this a game changer specifically for the smaller woman? When you are standing next to a taller partner, the height difference is obvious. He towers over you. But when he sits down and you sit on him, that dynamic disappears. In fact, it often reverses. Suddenly you are at eye level, or perhaps even slightly higher. You are no longer looking up, you are looking into him. This shift in perspective is psychologically profound. It creates a sense of equality. You are no longer the small one being protected. You are the goddess descending onto the throne. But let's talk about the mechanics, because this is where the petite frame truly shines. Because your legs are shorter, you can wrap them completely around his torso. You can hook your ankles behind his back. This creates that koala effect, a feeling of being securely attached. You become a backpack of intimacy. For him, feeling your legs wrapped entirely around him is incredibly grounding. It makes him feel surrounded by you. Crucially, the Lotus puts you in the driver's seat regarding depth. Because you are on top, you control the gravity. If it feels too deep, you simply lift yourself slightly using your knees or by holding onto his shoulders. You can grind, you can rock, you can circle, you determine the pace. This position effectively eliminates the piston motion that causes discomfort for petite women. Instead, it encourages a slow, grinding connection. It allows you to press your chest against his, maximizing skin-to-skin contact. And here is a secret variation for those who find standard straddling tiring. Have him sit cross-legged on the bed. You sit on his lap, wrapping your legs around his waist. This creates a wide, stable base. It opens your hips naturally without strain. In this tangle of limbs, it becomes impossible to tell where you end and he begins. The size difference melts away, and all that is left is not a pure connection. It is slow, it is intimate, and it is perfectly sized for you. The protecting the depth method. Now we must address the elephant in the room. There is a position that is often the most requested by men, yet the most feared by petite women. Rear entry in its standard form on hands and knees. This position is often a recipe for discomfort. Because of the angle, gravity pulls your internal organs forward, creating a vacuum that allows for maximum depth. If he is larger and you are smaller, this maximum depth can quickly turn into maximum pain. He hits the wall almost immediately, causing that deep, cramping shock we want to avoid. Many petite women simply ban this position from the bedroom, but you don't have to ban it, you just have to flatten it. I want to introduce you to the prone variation, or what I like to call protecting the depth. Instead of being up on your hands and knees, I want you to lie completely flat on your stomach. When you lie flat, two magical things happen for your body geometry. First, your pelvis naturally tilts in a way that closes the internal space slightly. It creates a natural barrier. Second, the bed itself acts as a depth guard. Because your legs are straight out behind you, he cannot drive as deeply as he can when your hips are high in the air. The mattress stops him. But we can make this even better for you. Remember our friend, the pillow. Place that pillow underneath your hips, stomach while you lie flat. This lifts your pelvis just enough to make the angle accessible for him, but keeps the sensation shallow and grinding. In this position, you are safe. You cannot be surprised by a sudden deep thrust because the physics of your body won't allow it. You're fully supported by the bed. You can bury your face in the pillows, relax your neck, and focus entirely on the sensation of his weight pressing over you. For the petite woman, this variation turns a scary position into a comforting one. You feel his full size covering you like a weighted blanket, but you don't feel the intrusion of his size hurting you. It becomes about the pressure on your lower back, the friction of your bodies moving together, and the feeling of being completely claimed. If you want to tighten the sensation even more, keep your legs pressed together. This technique often called the coital squeeze, creates high friction without needing depth. It feels incredibly intense for him because of the tightness, and it feels secure for you because you are in control of your own body boundaries. You are essentially creating a shallow end in the pool, allowing you to enjoy the water without fear of going under. The side lying scissor. Finally, let's talk about the days when you are tired. The days when you want intimacy, but you don't have the energy for acrobatics or gravity-defying lifts. You just want to lie next to him and feel loved. Usually, couples default to spooning. But for the petite woman, spooning is rarely anatomically correct. If he is 6 feet tall and you are 5 feet tall, his hips are digging into your lower back and the connection is awkward. It's a logistical mismatch. The solution is the side lying scissor. This is a face-to-face position, but with a specific architectural twist that gives the petite woman total control over distance. Lay on your sides facing each other. Now take your bottom leg and keep it relatively straight, but take your top leg and drape it over his hip. Your top leg is now resting on his waist or flank. This top leg is your brake pedal. It is your bumper. By adjusting how much you bend that top knee or how hard you press your thigh against his hip, you physically control how close he can get to you. If he starts to get too close or the angle feels too deep, you simply press your top leg down against him, creating a natural shield. You are using the leverage of your thigh bone to maintain the perfect distance. Because you are face to face, you have all the emotional benefits, the kissing, the whispering, the eye contact. But because of the scissor leg, you have the mechanical advantage. This position is also fantastic for friction because your legs are interlaced. There is a lot of surface area rubbing together. The focus shifts from in and out to a grinding rhythmic pressure that stimulates the external zones perfectly. It is the ultimate position for lazy lovemaking. You are fully supported by the mattress. You don't have to hold any weight. You don't have to arch your back. You just have to lie there, drape your leg over him, and let the geometry do the work. For the smaller woman, this position prevents that feeling of sliding away. That often happens in standard side lying. You are hooked on him. You are anchored. It allows you to drift into a state of pure relaxation, knowing that your body is safe, your depth is protected, and your connection is unbreakable. It turns the bed into a raft, and the two of you are simply floating together, perfectly aligned. The psychology of smallness and power dynamics, the doll complex vs the goddess. We have spent a lot of time talking about angles and pillows, but now we need to talk about what is happening inside your mind, because you can have the perfect pillow placement, but if your internal narrative is shrinking you, the intimacy will never feel truly expansive. There is a shadow side to being a petite woman. It is what I call the doll complex. Because of your size, the world, and sometimes your partner, often views you through the lens of cute. You are adorable, you are tiny, you are easily picked up and moved around. While these can be terms of endearment in the bedroom, they can sometimes feel infantilizing. You might feel like you are being handled rather than being a participant. You might feel like a fragile object that is being tossed around rather than a powerful woman who is grounding the energy. This can lead to a feeling of passivity. You might catch yourself thinking, I'm just going to let him do the work because he's so much stronger. You surrender your power because physically you are overpowered. But today, I want you to flip that script. I want you to move from the doll to the goddess. In ancient archetypes, the most powerful energy was often contained in the smallest vessels. Think of a diamond. It is small, but it is unbreakable. Think of a laser beam. It is thin, but it cuts through steel. Your smallness is not a lack of substance. It is a concentration of essence. When he picks you up or when his body covers yours, do not tell yourself, I am weak. Tell yourself, I am the prize. Reframe his size not as something that dominates you, but as something that is drawn to your gravity. He surrounds you because you are the center of the experience. You are the nucleus. When you shift your mindset to view your size as aerodynamic and potent rather than cute and helpless, your body language changes. You stop shrinking away from his touch and start leaning into it. You realize that while he may have the physical strength, you hold the emotional power. He is the frame, but you are the masterpiece inside it, and the masterpiece is always the most valuable thing in the room. Leading from below, once you have reclaimed your mindset, you are ready to reclaim the rhythm. One of the biggest complaints I hear from smaller women is, he's so big, he sets the pace. I just have to hold on. It feels like you are riding a runaway train. If he wants to go fast, you go fast. If he wants to thrust hard, you take it. Because physically, how can you stop a man who is twice your weight? You cannot stop him with force. but you can lead him with influence. You do not need to be on top to be in charge. You can lead from below. The secret lies in your breath and your tension. Men are incredibly sensitive to feedback, even if they don't realize it consciously. If you want to slow him down, you don't need to push his chest. Instead, use your body as the brake. Deepen your breath. Make a slow, long, audible exhale, and simultaneously engage your core and pelvic floor muscles. Squeeze him. When you create internal tension or tightness, he instinctively slows down to enjoy the sensation. He cannot rush through a tight space. By simply contracting your muscles and slowing your breath, you force him to match your pace. You are guiding him without saying a word. You can also use your hands. Place your hands on the back of his neck or his hair. This is a high leverage point. If you gently pull his head down to yours, you force his spine to curve, which biomechanically limits how fast he can move hips. You are bringing him into a kiss, yes, but you are also using leverage to reset the rhythm. This is the art of the whisper. A shout is loud, but a whisper makes people lean in. Your movements are whispers. A subtle arch of the back, a tightening of the legs, a slow exhale. These are the commands that a large man will follow blindly. He wants to please you. He is looking for the map. When you use your body to provide that feedback, you are no longer a passenger. You are the navigator. You are showing him exactly where to go and how fast to get there. The vulnerability of size. Finally, we must address the deepest psychological layer of the size difference, fear. It is a primal instinct. When a creature is pinned beneath something much larger and heavier, the lizard brain, the amygdala, senses danger. It triggers a fight or flight response. Even if you love your partner deeply, even if you trust him with your life, there may be moments during intimacy where his weight feels suffocating. Maybe he leans down too hard or his shoulder presses into your face. For a split second, your body panics, your breath catches, you feel crushed. This is not a mood killer, it is biology. But if you ignore it, you will dissociate. You will check out of the moment to escape the feeling of being trapped. We need to build a bridge of safety here. First, acknowledge the vulnerability. It is an incredibly brave act to surrender your body to someone who could physically overpower you. That surrender is the ultimate gift of trust. Recognize that bravery in yourself. Second, you must communicate your weight limits, not as a complaint, but as a guide. If he is crushing you, do not suffer in silence. Use the heavy blanket technique. Whisper to him, "I love feeling your weight, but take it onto your arms so I can breathe." Guide his hands. Move his forearms so they are bracing his weight on the mattress next to your head, creating a cage of protection rather than a crushing force. When he holds his weight up, creating that small pocket of space for you, the psychology shifts again. Now, he is not the crusher. He is the shelter. He is the roof over your head. You are safe inside the arch of his body. This dynamic of him being powerful enough to crush you, but controlled enough to protect you, is the essence of erotic trust for the petite woman. When you feel that safety, your nervous system switches from fight or flight to rest and digest. Your muscles relax. Your pleasure centers open up. You can finally let go, knowing that you are not being overwhelmed by his size, but held by his strength. Enhancing sensation, the micro moves, the art of arching. Why have built the foundation? We have the positions and we have the mindset. Now we're going to add the details. These are the micro moves, the tiny adjustments that are invisible to the naked eye, but explosive to the nervous system. The first micro move is the art of arching. Now I want to clarify something important. In yoga or pilates, you are often told to imprint your spine, to flatten your lower back against the floor to protect your core. But in the bedroom, a flat back is often a barrier to pleasure, especially for the petite woman. When your back is flat against the mattress, your pelvis is tucked under. As we discussed earlier, this angles your internal canal downward. It closes you off, makes deep connection feel like hitting a wall. To open the gates, you must master the arch. This isn't about looking like a gymnast. It is about a subtle engagement of your lower back muscles. When you are on your back, I want you to imagine there is a small string attached to your belly button, pulling it gently up toward the ceiling. As you lift your lower back off the mattress, creating just enough space to slide a hand underneath, your pelvis naturally tilts forward. This is the anterior tilt in action. Why is this a sensation hack? Because it changes the internal texture. When you arch, you are stretching the abdominal wall and tightening the internal muscles. You are creating a firmer grip without even trying to squeeze. Furthermore, this arch exposes the clitoral network. It pushes the pubic bone upward, making it the highest point of contact. If your partner is larger than you, he is likely leaning over you. By arching up, you are meeting his pressure. You are turning your body into a bow that meets his arrow. This movement also allows you to control the depth in real time. If he is moving too deep, simply increase the arch. This tilts your pelvis in a way that creates a natural stopper. If you want more depth, flatten the back slightly. Think of your spine as a volume knob. Arching up turns the volume of sensation up. Flattening down turns it down or softens it. You don't have to stay in one static position. You can flow between an arched back and a flat back, changing the sensation with every breath. It is a subtle dance that happens entirely within your own body, giving you total control over the intensity of the moment, using your feet for leverage. Now, let's talk about a practical problem that drives smaller women crazy. The slide. Physics is simple. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. When a larger, stronger partner moves towards you, the force of his movement pushes you backward. Because you are lighter, you slide, you end up scooting up the bed, your head hitting the headboard, or the pillow disappearing from under you. This constant sliding breaks the connection. It forces you to stop and shimmy back down. It ruins the rhythm. The solution lies in your feet. You need anchors because your legs are shorter. You often can't plant your feet flat on the mattress to push back. Your knees would be too high or the angle would be awkward. So we have to get creative with our leverage points. First, look for external structures. If your bed has a headboard with slats or bars, reach your hands back and grip them. By holding onto the headboard, you are anchoring your upper body. You are pulling yourself down while he pushes up. This creates a delicious tension, a tug of war, where your bodies are the rope. Second, use his body as the anchor. If you are in the missionary position, do not let your legs dangle. Hook your feet behind his calves or ankles. Lock them there. By pulling against his legs with your feet, you are counteracting the push of his hips. You are pulling yourself into him at the exact moment he is moving into you. This stabilizes the distance perfectly. Third, if the position allows, use the wall or the footboard. I always recommend petite women position themselves so their feet can press against a solid surface, the wall, the headboard, even a heavy piece of furniture at the end of the bed. When you can press your feet against something solid, you gain immense power. You can push back. You can meet his force with your own. This turns the experience from being moved to moving with. You stop sliding away and start standing your ground. That feeling of physical stability translates directly to emotional confidence. You are planted, you are rooted. And from that rooted place, you can finally relax and receive the rocking motion. Finally, the most important micro-movable. This is the one that changes the nature of the stimulation itself. We are going to shift from thrusting to rocking. The standard movie sex portrays a linear in and out motion. For a size mismatched couple, this is often the least pleasurable option. The out phase breaks the contact, and the in phase can be jarring. The petite woman's body responds best to continuous pressure, not intermittent friction. We want to maintain contact with the sensitive zones 100% of the time, not 50% of the time. To do this, we use the rock. Instead of pulling away and coming back, imagine your hips are fused to his. You want to create a grinding motion. Think of a mortar and pestle. The pestle doesn't jump in and out of the bowl. It grinds against the sides in a circular rhythmic motion. Start by moving your hips in small circles. When you do this, you are dragging your pelvic bone across his. You are massaging the internal and external points simultaneously. Now, here is the challenge. You have to teach him to do this too. Men are conditioned to thrust. It is their default setting. To switch him to rocking, you don't need to give a lecture. You just need to guide him. When he starts to pull away, use your legs or your hands on his hips to hold him close. Don't let him leave. Keep him pressed against you. Then initiate the circle yourself. Move your hips. When he feels that grinding sensation, his body will naturally want to follow it because it feels incredible for him too. This rocking motion is the great equalizer. It removes the issue of length or depth entirely because the movement isn't about how deep you go, it's about how much surface area you can touch. It creates a trance-like state. The rhythm is slower, heavier, and more hypnotic. For the petite woman, this is where the magic happens. You aren't bracing for impact. You are melting into the friction. You are riding the wave of sensation without ever worrying about the wave crashing over you. It transforms the act from a physical workout into a sensual meditation. Communication in the partner connection. Scripts for too deep. We have covered the physics, the angles, and the mindset. But there is one final barrier that keeps many petite women in a state of silent discomfort: the voice. You are in the moment. The chemistry is electric. But then the angle shifts or the rhythm speeds up and suddenly, ouch, he hits that deep spot that makes you wince. But you stay silent. Why? Because you don't want to hurt his feelings. You don't want to break his stride. You worry that if you say stop or that hurts, he will feel rejected or worse, inadequate. So you endure it. I want you to make a pact with yourself right now. Endurance is not intimacy. You need to speak up, but speaking up doesn't have to be a mood killer. You don't need to use clinical terms or shout stop. We can use what I call erotic redirection. The goal is to frame the boundary as a preference for pleasure, not just an avoidance of pain. Here is a script you can use. Instead of saying you're going too deep, it hurts, try saying this in a whisperness. Stay right there at the entrance. Tease me. Do you feel the difference? The first one sounds like a rejection. The second one sounds like a challenge. It sounds sexy. By asking him to tease you or stay shallow, you are giving him a new goal. You are turning the limitation into a game. Here is another one. If he is thrusting too hard, instead of saying slow down, moan into his ear and say, I want to feel every inch of you slowly, make me wait for it. This triggers his masculine instinct to be in control, but it slows him down to the pace you need. And if he does hit a painful spot, be honest but gentle. Pull him close and say, you are so big you're hitting a deep spot. Let's shift so I can take all of you comfortably. This validates his size while explaining why you need to move. Frames your body not as too small, but as a vessel that needs a specific angle to accommodate his power. When you communicate like this, he doesn't hear a complaint. He hears that his size is impressive, and he will happily adjust to prove he can pleasure you correctly, guiding his hips. Sometimes words are too slow. In the heat of passion, the most effective way to communicate is through your hands. Many women treat their hands as accessories during intimacy. They flutter over his back or clutch the sheets. But if you are a petite woman with a larger partner, your hands are your steering wheel. You need to use them to physically guide the experience. This brings us to the hip grip. When you are in a position where you need to control the depth, whether it is missionary or on top, place your hands firmly on his hips. I don't mean a light touch. I mean a grip. Find the crest of his hip bones and hook your thumbs or fingers around them. This grip gives you two superpowers. First, it allows you to act as a physical buffer. If he starts to thrust too deeply, you can lock your arms and use your hands to physically stop his forward momentum. You create a resistance. He will feel this resistance instantly and instinctively hold back. It is a non-verbal stop sign that doesn't require you to say a word. Second, it allows you to steer the angle. Remember the fulcrum point and the pelvic tilt? You can help him find it. Use your hands to tilt his hips downward or upward to match your alignment. Guide him into the grinding motion we talked about. If you want him to grind, grab his hips and move them in a circle. He will get the message immediately and mimic your movement. Do not be afraid to be firm. In the context of intimacy, firm hands signal passion. When you grab him, it tells him you are engaged. It tells him you want him. And paradoxically, when you take physical charge of his hips, it often allows him to relax. He stops worrying if he is hurting you because he can feel that you are navigating the ship. You are showing him exactly where he fits best. So don't just hold on to him, drive him, celebrating the difference. I want to leave you with a thought about the aesthetics of your relationship. It is easy to get caught up in the logistics, the pillows, the angles, the scripts. But don't forget to step back and appreciate the beauty of the contrast. There is something profoundly romantic about the difference in scale between you and your partner. It is the archetype of the mountain and the flower, the ocean and the shore. The contrast creates the chemistry. Don't let the technical challenges make you resent the size difference. Instead, celebrate it. Love the way his hand completely covers yours. Love the way you can tuck your entire body into the curve of his chest. Love the fact that he can act as a shield for you and that you can be the soft sanctuary for him. When you stop seeing your size difference as a mismatch and start seeing it as a sculpture, the frustration evaporates. You realize that you fit together not in spite of your differences, but because of them. He loves your smallness. To him, your petite frame makes him feel capable, strong, and protective, and you can love his largeness. It allows you to feel held, enveloped, and safe. This mindset shift is the final key to communication. When you approach him with an attitude of celebrating his size, he will never feel criticized when you ask to adjust. He will understand that you are just trying to find the perfect way for the mountain and the flower to coexist. And when you find that harmony, the image you create together is nothing short of art. Petite power, routine, the pre-intimacy stretch. We have talked about what to do during the moment. But true pleasure often begins 20 minutes before he even touches you. For the petite woman, physical preparation is not just about flexibility, it is about creating space. Because your frame is smaller, your hips often have to open wider relative to your body size to accommodate a larger partner. If your muscles are tight from sitting at a desk, driving, or stressed, that required width can feel straining rather than opening. I want to give you a simple 3-minute ritual to unlock your hips. Think of this as tuning the instrument before the concert. First, the butterfly recline. Lie on your bed or the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall open to the sides. Don't push them, just let gravity do the work. Place your hands on your inner thighs and breathe warm energy into them. This prepares your adductor muscles, the ones that often cramp up during wider positions, to relax. Second, the deep lunge. Kneel on one knee and step the other foot forward. Lean gently into the front leg. This opens the hip flexors. Remember, when you are in positions like the modified alignment or the Lotus, your hips need to be loose to allow for that grinding motion. If your hips are locked, your lower back takes the pressure. We want your hips to be fluid hinges, not rusty gates. Finally, child's pose. Kneel, sit back on your heels and stretch your arms forward on the bed. Let your pelvic floor completely relax. This is the antidote to the bracing we talked about earlier. Do these movements not as exercise, but as a sensual warm-up. Light a candle, play music. By the time you get into bed, your body will already feel expansive. You won't feel like a small vessel trying to stretch. You will feel like an open flower ready to receive. This physical openness translates directly to mental readiness. When your hips are free, your mind is free, creating your sanctuary. Now, let's set the stage. If you are going to use tools like pillows or leverage points, you cannot be fumbling for them in the dark. That breaks the spell. You want your environment to support your pleasure, not interrupt it. We need to create a petite sanctuary. This means nesting before the moment happens. If you know you need a pillow for the modified alignment or the prone variation, place it on the bed beforehand. But don't just throw it there. Integrate it, make it look inviting. Use a pillow with a soft texture, velvet, silk, or fox fur. Make it part of the luxury of the bed. If you plan to use the headboard for leverage, make sure the pillows are arranged so you can reach the bars or slats easily without knocking things over. Think about height. If your bed is very high and your feet dangle when you sit on the edge, place a soft rug or a sturdy ottoman at the foot of the bed. This gives you a grounding point if you want to try positions from the edge of the bed. You never want to feel like your feet are swinging in the void. That creates physical insecurity. And finally, lighting. Shadows are your friend. Soft, low lighting blurs the edges of the room and makes the space feel intimate and enclosed. For a smaller woman, a vast, bright room can feel exposing. A dimly lit, cozy nest feels protective. It triggers that primal sense of safety. When you curate your space, you are sending a message to yourself and your partner. This is a deliberate act. You aren't just falling into bed. You are stepping into a temple designed for your pleasure. When the environment fits you, you don't have to fight it. The confidence visualization, we end this routine with the mind. There is a moment right before intimacy begins. Maybe while you are brushing your teeth or while you are waiting for him to join you, where the old insecurities can creep in. I hope I don't feel awkward. I hope I'm enough. I want you to replace that worry with a specific visualization. I call it the expansion. Close your eyes for 10 seconds. I want you to imagine a light in the center of your chest. It is small, concentrated, and incredibly bright. As you inhale, imagine that light expanding beyond your skin. Imagine your energy field growing until it fills the entire room. Physically, you may be 5 feet tall, but energetically, you are 10 feet tall. You are filling every corner of the space. Tell yourself, my body is small, but my presence is massive. Visualize your partner not as a giant who overwhelms you, but as a traveler entering your atmosphere. You are the planet. He is the visitor. His size does not threaten you. It is simply more material for you to enjoy. When you hold this visualization, your posture changes. You lift your chin. You unfurl your shoulders. You stop shrinking. This is critical because men do not respond to physical size, they respond to energetic size. A petite woman who projects big energy is intoxicating. She feels substantial, she feels significant. So before he touches you, take that moment to expand, claim the space. Remind yourself that you are not a doll to be played with, you are a force of nature to be reckoned with. When you enter the bedroom with that energy, the height difference disappears. The only thing left is the magnitude of your desire. You are ready, you are open, and you are powerful. your new reality. The summary of secrets will have traveled a long way together in this video. We started with the frustration, the feeling of being physically overwhelmed, the awkward angles, and the silent question of why doesn't this fit? But now look at what you have in your toolkit. You have replaced the struggle with science and the confusion with strategy. Let's lock these secrets in one last time. Remember the fulcrum point. You are no longer trying to align flat surfaces. You are tilting the pelvis, creating that crucial angle that turns pain into pleasure. You are meeting him halfway. Remember the prop. That simple pillow under your hips is your bridge. It is the tool that levels the playing field, giving you the leverage to move and the safety to relax. It protects your depth and elevates your experience. Literally, remember the micro moves, the arching of the back, the anchoring of the feet, and the shift from thrusting to rocking. These are the subtle adjustments that turn a mismatch into a perfect fit. And most importantly, remember the mindset. You are done with the doll complex. You are no longer the passenger. You are the navigator. You know how to use your voice to redirect, your hands to guide, and your breath to control the pace. You have learned that the best position isn't just a shape your body makes, it is a decision your mind makes to take ownership of your pleasure. I want you to walk away from this video with one core truth embedded in your heart. Your size is not a limitation. It is a specific frequency of intimacy. You are built for intensity. You are built to be held, to be surrounded, and to be the concentrated center of the experience. The very things that felt like disadvantages, the height difference, the weight difference, are actually the ingredients for a deeply protective, primal, and passionate connection. Don't try to be the tall girl, be the petite powerhouse, be the aerodynamic vessel that fits perfectly in the spaces he cannot fill alone. Here is my challenge to you tonight, or the next time you are intimate. Pick just one thing from this guide. Maybe it's the pillow under the hips. Maybe it's the lotus position. Maybe it's just the visualization of expanding your energy. Try it. See how it changes the dynamic. Watch how his eyes light up when he realizes you are comfortable, confident, and fully present. You are magnetic, you are desirable, and you are perfectly designed. If this guide helped you rewrite your story, please give this video a like. It helps other women find this message, and subscribe to the channel because we have so many more secrets to uncover together. Go be unforgettable.